I think it's worth mentioning. You're closer to this than I am. You've done a better job keeping track of what's happening here, but like very high level, like why is this so important right now? Like what has the administration done that has affected some of the policy opportunities or potential levers to move regenerative forward? Like what's the problem right now?
If I had to synthesize it as concisely as possible with my limited knowledge and understanding as a disclaimer, um, I would, I would try and bifurcate it into what are people worried about or having problems with, and then what are people hopeful or optimistic about. So, on the worried about having problems with, the federal funding freeze has really been a big issue for a lot of people. The Biden Harris administration did Climate Smart Commodities, which was a $3 billion kind of grant program. There was over $100 million of organic market development grants handed out to a lot of the brands that we support and have featured. There was like $20 billion of conservation program funding in the Inflation Reduction Act. All that has been like stopped and then restarted and then stopped. And there's executive orders and there's challenges to it in court. And there's all these things where there's a lot of uncertainty, but those were signed contracts between the federal government and brands, nonprofits, certifiers, like people that are doing this work. And people have been sharing about it on LinkedIn. It sounds like an absolute nightmare, but in certain cases, it's like $10 million grant where they've hired 8 people and now they literally have to just lay them off tomorrow because the funding has stopped. And there's lots of examples like that. And what I can't gather from the news is what and when the clarity and the resolution looks like. So yeah, that's the biggest current issue. And then I think people are still hopeful and optimistic about RFK Jr. and Maha. He has been approved and appointed as the HHS secretary. I think proponents, opponents, or kind of people more on the negative side believe that he's going to be in a box when it comes to food and ag, that the Trump track record and agenda are not going to really let him create the kind of change that we're all hoping for. And other people think he's going to have a lot of influence and drive a lot of cool change at USDA and FDA. So who knows? I don't really know. I don't have an opinion because I'm just going to wait and see what happens. Because, I can't predict the future. But I think currently that's the biggest source of frustration / issues, and also the biggest source of optimism / potential hope.